Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Figures of Sport podcast. We are on episode number 74. So I want to give a huge shout out to everybody who has been liking, subscribing, and interacting with us on all of our content over the last few weeks. The last few weeks, we had a huge uptick in all of our interactions. It has been incredible to see. So I really want to say thank you all very much for just showing some love and some support to the podcast. And we've got a lot to talk about today. So obviously MLB is still going on and it's really heating up. So we've got MLB to talk about. We've got NFL Week 3 stuff to talk about. And of course, we've got fantasy football content for you guys hot and ready. So but before we jump into any of that, the first thing that I want to say is make sure that you guys are liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the bell so that way you get the notifications for when we're posting. That way you can be the first person to know when we are posting and what we are posting. It is extremely important to me and this podcast that you guys are subscribing to the channel, liking the videos, and really just interacting with us. Like I said, the last few weeks have been a huge uptick in all of those interactions. So it means the world to me, and I thank you guys so much. But without any further ado, we are going to jump straight in to the MLB. First things first, we've got Cal Raleigh to talk about. Cal Raleigh eclipses Ken Griffey Jr. for the Mariners home run record. Last week, he hit his 56th home run, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the all-time record for most home runs by a switch hitter, first off. And on top of that, it has surpassed Ken Griffey Jr. for the Mariners home run record. Fast forward a couple of days, Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh has now hit 5 home runs in his last 7 games. He's sitting at 58 right now. He's chasing number 60, and there has only been 6 players in MLB history to have hit 60 home runs in a single season with 6 games left in the season. Do you guys think that Cal Raleigh can hit 60-plus home runs? I believe their next 6 games come against the Rockies in Seattle and then the Dodgers. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Cal can reach that 60 home run milestone. It's going to be huge for him, for the organization. And my next question kind of leads me into this, or into that previous discussion. While Cal Raleigh has some of those power numbers, does he have enough to beat Aaron Judge for the American League MVP award? I know I asked this a few episodes back, but with Cal Raleigh closing in on 60 and having the advantage in home runs, while I understand that Aaron Judge has the advantage in things like hits, batting average, on-base percentage, slugging, WAR, I just think that Cal Raleigh might have a slightly better chance to win the AL MVP award just because of the fact that he's doing this from the catcher position. It's really hard to put that amount of stress on your body day in and day out while playing incredible defense behind the plate. So if my vote counts for anything, I might have to lean towards Cal Raleigh. But I would love to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Cal Raleigh has done enough to win the American League MVP award? Now, we're going to stick with the Mariners because the next thing that we're going to talk about are the wild card and divisional races because things are really tightening up here, and this is where things get exciting. So, as I said, we're going to stick with the Mariners first. They have now won 9 of their last 10 games, and they have a 3-game lead over the Houston Astros for the American League West Division with 6 games left. Do you guys believe that they can win the first division title in the organization's history since 2001? Obviously, it's been quite a long time, 20-plus years since they've done it. Do you guys think they can do it again? Do you think they have enough to hold off the Astros in these last 6 games? Let me know in the comments below. And the next thing that we're going to talk about is the Detroit Tigers, because the Detroit Tigers have collapsed in this second half of the season. So they have lost 9 of their last 10 games, while on the other hand, the Cleveland Guardians have won 9 of their last 10 games. And they have cut their lead to just 1 game. So the Detroit Tigers are facing a huge collapse right now. The Guardians are tied, if I'm not mistaken, with Houston for the 3rd wild card spot. But Obviously, we know that if they are able to overtake the Tigers for that number 1 spot in the AL Central, then it's going to be a race between the Tigers and the Astros for that 3rd wildcard spot. But things are very, very interesting right now. Like I said, with about 6 or 7 games to go, that is going to be a race, I say, to keep your eyes on. With Detroit kind of showing signs of a major collapse and the Guardians heating up at the right time, this is going to be one of the most interesting races down the stretch in the next week or so. And obviously, it looked like the Tigers were kind of going to run away with this division, but you can never count the Cleveland Guardians out. And they have come to show that that is true. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the Milwaukee Brewers. I know that in the last episode, we talked about them clinching a playoff berth, but they have officially clinched the NL Central. The Chicago Cubs have clinched a playoff berth, their first since 2020. I believe they had asked Ian Happ post-game about his thoughts on the Chicago Cubs. And he was a little bit emotional just because of the fact that, this team has struggled over the last couple of years and they finally have found their footing. And while they did look really, really strong early this season, things maybe didn't fall the way they kind of expected them to. I think they really expected to win this division, but a playoff berth nonetheless is something to be proud of. So it's going to be very interesting to see what this Cubs team can do going into the postseason. I think Kyle Tucker is still dealing with an injury, so we're going to keep an eye on that. And once we talk a little bit more about the playoff race, once things are settled and the official bracket is finalized, we're going to talk about that, and we'll dig more into that for sure. But lastly, something that I kind of want to talk about a little bit more is the New York Mets. We talk about the Detroit Tigers collapsing. The New York Mets are facing a massive collapse. For a team that has one of the highest payrolls in baseball, they are paying the largest contract in MLB history to Juan Soto with over $700 million to that guy. And they are facing, a season where they do not make the playoffs. They have struggled mightily over the last few weeks. They're now tied for the Cincinnati Reds for the 3rd wild card spot and only have a 1-game lead over the Arizona Diamondbacks, who have won 7 of their last 10 games. I really do think that this is going to be a major, major disappointment for the New York Mets if they are unable to make the playoffs this season. And I really want to know what you guys think. Do they hold on to the 3rd wild card spot and make their way into the playoffs, or do they continue their collapse and fall out of playoff contention in the next 7 games? 6 or 7 games that they have left? Let me know in the comments below, guys. I really want to hear your guys' thoughts on that. But that was a quick little MLB update for you guys, because we have a lot to talk about for football, as I had mentioned before. So like I said, let me know your guys' thoughts on those questions in the comments below. And without further ado, we are going to talk about football. We have week 3 recap. We have Sunday night football, Monday night football. We've got, fantasy. We've got all that stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to bring our recurring guest, George, back to the podcast. George, welcome back to the podcast. We are super, super excited to have you back, man. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me, man. Always a pleasure being on this podcast with you, brother.
All right, man. So we've got a lot to talk about. And, the first thing that I think we should talk about is, we've got Thursday night football. So let me pull that up 1 second. Thursday night football, we had a matchup between the Bills and Dolphins. And what are your thoughts on that game, man?
Wasn't what I expected it to be. With the way that the Dolphins have been playing lately, I figured this would be an easy kind of a blowout win for the Bills, especially how well they've been playing. It was a very close game it came down to Tua throwing that game-ending interception. Otherwise, I thought it was a pretty decent game for the Bills. Dalton Kincaid, we saw him getting involved in the pass game a lot. Had a great game. James Cook, being elite, had a great game against that bad run defense. I do want to mention for all those listeners out there, if you followed my Thursday night football parlay, we got the dub. It was a sweaty one because
that is the that's the first official Figures of Sport podcast parlay cash.
Yeah.
So shout out to you, George, for cooking that one up, man.
We're one of two or one of three because our Sunday slate didn't hit, but we're one of three. It was a little sweaty, with the minus, what was it, minus 9.5 for the Bills.
I think it was minus 8.5 or 9.5. Yeah,
9.5 for the Bills, but the MVP gets them down there. They get the field goal. They didn't go for it to try to ice the game out. They went for the field goal, which was clutch. I have another Thursday night parlay for you guys here later on in the episode. But again, pretty standard game, not really like exciting too much. We saw the Dolphins have a little bit of a fight, but Tua has been doing Tua things, those that really bad interception. I don't know what was going through his head there. Devon Achane continues to be a reception merchant, just racking up the receptions out there in the backfield. Jalen Waddle gets a touchdown. Tyreek Hill, gets a touchdown, I believe. And, the Bills move on to 3-0, and Dolphins have some questions now about their team. We were saying before the season, after week one, if this continues to be bad play with the Dolphins, we could be seeing a new head coach, a new quarterback in that system, and it's looking like that might be on the more truer side as the season goes on.
Yeah, no, I mean, as you said, the Dolphins did put up a fight. I think it was a lot more competitive than we initially thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
If you think about it, with about 5.5 minutes left in that fourth quarter, my apologies, they were able to tie it up 21-21. And then, the Bills come down and score and, tie things up or take the lead 28-21. And then, just from there, Tua throws that interception, really kind of cost them the game, I think right there. And then Buffalo goes down, ices it with a field goal, like you said. So I think a lot more competitive than we definitely thought it was going to be, but just costly. It's the timely mistakes for the Dolphins that are losing them these games now. And, obviously they did look better than they did in their first 2 games. Or their first game for sure. They looked a little bit better in week 2 against the Patriots, and then obviously looking a little bit better against the Bills, a very competitive team. And of course, how division games go. You kind of really never know what to expect, but you always know that those teams are going to come out with a little bit more juice. But overall, the Bills, the MVP, they come out on top, and they are 3-0, and they look like one of the best teams in the NFL right now, if not the best. So. But we're not going to stay on this game too long. And next thing, obviously, George, how we do it here. So we're going to talk about Sunday, the day slate first, and then we'll jump into Sunday Night Football. So one of the first games that I want to talk about is something that you and I spent a lot of time on last week talking about because we were super excited for this matchup. But the Eagles and the Rams, what a wild finish for that game. Philadelphia overcame a 19-point deficit to beat the Rams 33-26. Jalen Hurts finally remembered that he can throw the football, passing for 3 touchdowns, ran in for another. Jordan Davis kind of sealed the win with the blocked field goal at the end and then returned it for a touchdown. So that was a hell of a game, man. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, and I just want to add, we did have Eagles plus 7.5 on our podcast parlay.
Rams plus 7.5.
Oh yeah, Rams plus 7.5 on our podcast parlay. It hit, even with that touchdown at the end. They could have outright won this game, which we kind of predicted. We kind of thought would happen. Yeah. He just got away from the Rams. He just got away from them. But I do want to talk about the Rams a little bit. I love to see Puka and Devontae, like, they're thriving off each other in this offense. Puka had 11 catches for 112 yards, and Devontae Adams had not as many. He had 3 for 56, but gets the touchdown. But usually when you see like 2 dominant receivers on one team, like we see over there in Cincinnati with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, it's usually 1 week for one week for the other, or one may have a stretch for a couple of weeks where they're getting a lot of touches and the yardage, and the other one's really not. But so far we're seeing both of them just thriving off each other, both getting what we want to see out of them. The Eagles passing game, it finally came alive in that second half of the game. But it was because they were down 19-7 in the first half. Jalen Hurts, I think, ended that first half 2 for 7 with 17 passing yards.
Yeah. And a very quiet game from Saquon, too.
Yeah, quiet game from Saquon. But because I believe that they were down so much, they were forced to pass a lot to try to get back in this game. Hurts ended up finishing, like you said, with the 226 and 3 touchdowns. So we talked about this last week, how we feel like the passing game would have to come out for this game against the Rams. We didn't really need it those first 2 weeks. They relied heavy on the run, but this game, because they were down so much, they needed to rely on the pass game, which, we saw. And, we can expect this with the Rams with the Eagles going forward. They're going to rely on the run game until they have to rely on the pass game. Like they won't need to use it if they don't have to. And this week they did need to use it, and they ended up winning. And even though it was a ugly win for them, like they had to crawl back, and fight so hard. And then I still think the Eagles are the team to beat right now. Coming off that Super Bowl win, 3-0, they are the team to beat right now. But I do think that against better opponents this year, they will take some faults, and we'll have to see how they come through that adversity. But one thing I really want to talk about this game is anytime I could see a big man get the ball and go for a touchdown, it drives me crazy. I love to see it. Big men don't get enough love in this game. Jordan Davis came up absolutely clutch, like you said, blocked the game-winning field goal, and then scoops and scores it for the touchdown at the end of the game. I do want to talk about that play, though, because we were talking about this a little bit last week with that Denver Colts game. Colts go down there, try to kick a game-winning field goal. Denver gets called for the leverage. Even though they missed the field goal, had no impact on the field goal. They ended up calling that penalty leverage on Denver. They move forward. Colts kick the game-winning field goal. But then this game, if you go back and look at that play where the blocked field goal happens, you could see Jalen Carter also using leverage on the center to push himself up. Granted, he doesn't have an impact on the play. He doesn't block the ball. Jordan Davis does. But there was no call on that play, and they end up blocking the field goal, taking it for the touchdown. So again, it's at this point, it's like, when do you call it? Because you called it against the Denver game when it had no impact on the kick. He missed it. There was no pressure there anyways. And then you don't call it on this game, and they end up blocking the kick and to seal the game, because that would have been the game-winning kick for the Rams. So at what point do the refs call this leverage play and they don't call it?
Yeah, there just has to be a little bit more consistency there. And I think if we see it happen a little bit more this throughout the next few weeks, kind of similarly to how now the refs are going to start looking for the offensive lineman's official lineup place during the tush push. They're going to be a little bit more strict on that. So I think if we start to see that becomes an issue with that leverage call, that we might start to see a little bit more of a strict enforcement on that going forward. But yeah, man, I mean, this was an incredible game. Like you said too earlier, I really do love the fact that the Rams are feeding both Devontae and Puka a lot. And I think it's like you said, sometimes it's 1 week, sometimes it's the next, for when you have two wide receivers of very high caliber. And if you kind of look at their targets over the last few weeks alone, through the first 3 games, Puka is leading Devontae, but not by much. It's 35 total targets to 29. So Matthew Stafford is doing a great job of getting his guys involved, and I really love to see it. Yeah. So, but as you said, I think with the Eagles being the team to beat, I do think that's the case. But I think the Rams going throughout this season, they're going to be a team to watch, because I do think
100%.
last year they had a solid playoff run. They lost to the Eagles, and then obviously the Eagles went on to beat the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. But they had a great battle in those NFC playoffs too. So I think this is going to be a very, very good team to watch this season, and they really can make a run for an NFC Championship game, in my opinion. So definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. And then now the next game I want to talk about is our Chicago Bears, man. They did what they had to do. They got to win. I think we both predicted that they would win this game last week, and they did what they needed to do. Caleb threw for 4 touchdowns, 298 yards. They won 31-14 over the Cowboys. Their defense forced 4 turnovers, and Ben Johnson gets his first dub, and it's at home in Chicago. And of course, the revenge factor of beating Matt Eberflus and kind of stomping all over that defense came true, like we thought, or like we kind of said would happen. So great game. The flea flicker play was beautiful. I think DeAndre Swift could have made a little bit better of a pass, but It worked out. Luther Bird, I mean, those 4 touchdowns from Caleb, one of them to Luther Burden, one of them to Cole Kmet, one of them to DJ, and one of them to Rome. That's kind of exactly what you envisioned with this offense. So I really love that, man. And I'm very happy with the result. And it's going to be exciting to kind of watch this offense throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and it was exciting to see this game as a Bears fan perspective, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's kind of what we should have expected the Bears to do this game.
Yeah.
Caleb had his best performance in his career so far through 20 games. Almost 2 yards shy of 300, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. The last time he threw 4 touchdowns was against Jacksonville in London last year, I believe. Ended up throwing a pick that game too, but this one was perfect. Had 142.6 passer rating. But the Bears needed this win 100%. After starting off 0-2 in 2 divisional games, especially that one bad loss against Detroit last week in a gruesome comeback for the Vikings, that ended up making the Bears go 0-1. They needed this, especially going on the road next week to another struggling opponent with the Raiders, hoping to go 2-2 into that bye, have some momentum and possibly have your playoff hopes still alive there. But we knew that this Cowboys defense, we said week 1 that it was somewhat adequate against the Eagles, but then you go back to next week, the week after that, and it's just falling apart. In 2 straight weeks, they've given up a total of 68 points, 30 plus in back-to-back of those weeks. The D-line's applying no pressure. The secondary is getting burnt. It's not there. You thought they signed Jadeveon Clowney last week. They thought he could apply some pressure there to the D-line, and this was the first game since they said Caleb played Stanford in college where he has not been sacked.
Yeah,
and for a team and a quarterback that gave up and allowed 68 sacks last year, that's kind of an embarrassing performance in my say. But again, I don't want to spend too much time. I do one quick thing about CeeDee Lamb gets the high ankle sprain, expected to miss some time. I don't understand why they had him as a design running back on that play there. I understand Javonte Williams had that fumble where Tyreek Stevenson snatched out of his hands. But he's been hot this last 2 weeks. They've been rolling in that run game so far with him. I don't know why you don't continue to give him the ball. You put CD back there. Kind of, I don't know what the play call was for that, but expected to miss some time, and I think it can really hurt this Dallas offense.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that is probably the biggest thing here with CeeDee Lamb getting hurt. That's obviously, now teams are going to game plan for George Pickens to be the number 1. And they have guys like Tolbert and Jake Ferguson and things like that, but not having CeeDee Lamb available for Dak Prescott is going to be tough, especially with the fact that George Pickens is a new receiver to this team. He still isn't 110% acclimated into this offense yet. So it's just going to be interesting to see how the Cowboys can bounce back from this. But enough with this game. As Bears fans, we're very happy, but we're not. We can't get too high because the Bears always find a way to crush us. So, but the next thing that we are going to talk about is a divisional rival for the Chicago Bears, the Minnesota Vikings. They dominated the Bengals, completely dominated them, and they crushed Cincinnati 48-10. Carson Wentz had 2 touchdowns. Jordan Mason had 116 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. And shout out to Isaiah Rodgers, man. Isaiah Rodgers made history with a pick 6. A fumble return touchdown and 2 forced fumbles. Huge game for him. And an incredible showing by the Vikings defense, man. And really, I mean, the Bengals, I think they came out and said that they weren't looking to make a trade for quarterback, but I think after that game, you need to. I don't think that this team, yes, a couple years back, they were able to have some success with Jake Browning. This is not 2 years ago. This is 2025. Things have changed in the league since then, and they definitely need an upgrade at the quarterback position. They started out 2-0, and they're now 2-1, but still, they need competent quarterback play if they want to have a chance, especially since they could possibly capitalize on the slow start by the Ravens. We know that the Steelers are a team that usually is always kind of in the hunt for a playoff spot. And the Ravens, obviously, with the talent that they have. But starting 2-0, this is not something that they've done in the last couple years. So this is the time for them to capitalize. I do think that they 110% need to make a trade for a competent quarterback, because if not, their season can go down very quickly. What are your thoughts?
And we kind of talked about this last week. I was kind of hoping they would make that trade for Jameis Winston. I think he could be a starting quarterback in this league. We've seen it. I know he has a lot of turnover mistakes, but he can get the job done. I didn't think Jake Browning was the move. I mean, this offense was terrible on Sunday. I think they had five total fumbles, 3 that were lost, 2 interceptions. It was just a bad day. The run game is still non-existent for the Bengals, but I mean, shout out that this is the product of an elite Brian Flores defense. You know, I mean, it's just look at Isaiah Rodgers. He had a historic performance there, like you said. He had the interception returned for a touchdown, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery that was also returned for a touchdown. And this defense is going to be a problem for teams in this league. And with J.J. McCarthy being out, I think with this defense and how well Carson Wentz played, I think they can easily win these next couple of games. Until J.J. McCarthy comes back, then you have the decision to make, like, if J.J. comes back and doesn't play well like he did against the Atlanta Falcons, what do we do here at the quarterback position? Do we just let Wentz go in here with his, veteran experience here and expertise? Because he seemed to handle it well. I know it was against the bad Bengals defense, but that's a tough decision you got to make. I think it was just an overall dominant performance for the Vikings here.
Yeah, and quick storyline for that. Kevin O'Connell, I think, was asked about it today, actually, and he said, "Hey, we don't really have to answer that question today on if J.J. McCarthy will kind of come back in and immediately return to starting." And the fact that they didn't give such a confident answer kind of makes me think that maybe they do think that Carson Wentz can possibly give them a better chance. Obviously, I know we still have some time to see how he handles maybe some of the future matchups for the Vikings, but I mean, he definitely looked a lot more in control of this offense than JJ McCarthy did. So it's going to be something to watch, and obviously we'll follow that and we'll talk about that here too. Now, the next one, which it was not a great game to watch at all, but the Jaguars were able to hold off the Texans. They won 17-10. Shout out to Travis Etienne for having that late touchdown to secure them the victory, and strong defensive showing against the weak offensive line by the Texans. CJ Stroud continues to struggle, and it is not looking good in Houston right now, man. It is not. What are your thoughts?
And I think Stroud, struggles have to do with this offensive line. It is bad. They're making him fall under pressure a lot, and I mean, we saw a little bit work. I mean, his connection with Nico Collins this game kind of, it grew. He got the touchdown, the big touchdown play. But it's not enough. Like this, I don't know what it is. The defense still, I mean, looks good. I mean, this is the second week in a row they're holding them to under 20 points. And I think they held them under 20 points to the Buccaneers last week. But the offense has to get moving. The run game is not there. The O-line can't run block. I mean, Stroud is under pressure, so he doesn't have time to throw. It's just a lot of struggles there, man, and they got to fix it fast. And, there's not really much to say about this game. Jags moved to 2-1. They're looking to take over that division with the Colts right there at 3-0. They've been moving hot. But I do think that even though they won this game, I think the Jags need to involve Brian Thomas Jr. a little bit more.
100%.
Two catches, 55 receptions on 6 targets. I mean, you need to get him involved early in the games and more often. He is your best playmaker on this offense. You can't let him go with stats like this and games where he feels like he's not getting any love. But there was a funny graphic that came out today about systems that had Shane Waldron when they left. It's like when Shane Waldron left the Rams, Cooper Kupp had won the Triple Crown. When he left Seattle, JSN had a breakout year. When he left the Bears, Rome is now having a great year so far. Knock on wood, it continues to go, and he turns into the receiver we hoped he would be, picking him so early in the draft. But then now he's on the Jacksonville, and we see Brian Thomas Jr. regress heavily from what we saw last year. And it's like, is it a Shane Waldron thing? I mean, I was so high on Liam Cohen coming here after seeing how he runs the offense in Tampa. We've seen it here. They were scoring 20-plus points a game those first 2 weeks, 17 here. The run game has been so much better than it was last year. We talked about how I think Travis Etienne will have a higher role in this offense with Liam Cohen, and we see it happen. But this passing game especially with your number one receiver and the talent that Brian Thomas Jr. has, needs to be utilized a lot more.
Yeah, and it's crazy because Shane Waldron isn't even the offensive coordinator. He's just the passing game coordinator. But it's just like when he goes and he just is a part of this offense, it's like your number one wide receiver might not be your number one wide receiver that season, you know? So, interesting to see, but, you know, especially with Liam Cohen at the head, you know, head coaching position, because, you know, obviously we saw what he did with the talent he had in Tampa Bay last year, you know, with, you know, obviously Mike Evans and Godwin and things like that. So hopefully things can, you know, change quickly because, you know, I just don't think there's any reason that Brian Thomas Jr. should not be as involved in the offense as he should. But the next game I want to talk about, huge upset, especially in this division. I think it's going to be something that is, it can definitely come back to haunt them, you know, as the Lions kind of secured a victory, which we'll talk about later. But the Packers were upset by the Cleveland Browns, you know, after with their week 2 victory. They kind of came out. There was some things said that, you know, they think that they can go undefeated. And then the following week, they are able to take a loss to a lowly Cleveland Browns team. And there's no disrespect to the Browns because they are still a very strong defensive team. You know, you still have Myles Garrett and guys like Denzel Ward and things like that. So they're no slouches on defense. But the Packers should have won this game. You know, they were up 10-0 late in that game and then just could not you know, seal the deal with this win. So, you know, a 55-yard field goal as time expired after they blocked Green Bay's potential game-winning kick. You know, so shout out to the Browns for doing the NFC North a favor and really kind of just, I guess, humbling this Packers team. You know, Micah Parsons really had no impact on this game. They didn't look strong. Jordan Love struggled in this game, passing the ball. Also, shout out to Quinshon Judkins. He has officially taken over as the lead running back in Cleveland. You know, he had, I believe, 91 yards, I think 90-something yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, he's officially RB1 in Cleveland, and he looked really good, man. He looked really good. What are your thoughts on this game, though?
This was just a very heavy defensive game. We can kind of expect games like that with the Browns, you know, how loaded they are on defense. But on the Packers side, the offense was nowhere to be found. I mean, you beat 2 elite teams in the first 2 weeks with the Lions and the Commanders, and the passing game and the run game is there for both those games. Like the offense looked elite, while the defense also looked elite. But then once Jordan Love seemed to have some pressure, it kind of like went nowhere for this offense. Like I get like the Packers O-line had some health issues, I believe, but I mean we've seen these streaks these last 2 years with Love where he'll go on a consistent basis with like turnovers and interceptions, and we see the crucial interception late in that fourth quarter that allowed that the Browns to take it to the 4-yard line and end up scoring that game-tying touchdown. So you kind of hope that Jordan Love doesn't fall back into that system of streaking where the turnovers are a constant thing. But I mean, if Jordan Love is struggling this much under some pressure, granted it is Myles Garrett, you know, and Mason Graham, the rookie. If this is what the offense is going to look like, then it might be some troubles there. I kind of think they're going to pick it up. I think it's a fluke. They kind of, after that week 2, they were talking about some locker room talk. They can go undefeated. I think this brought them back down to reality. I think this is what they needed, like kind of like a punch to the mouth. Like, hey, like 100%. we're not the perfect team we thought. Like we're gonna have to face some adversity at times, but we got to pull out these wins. And I still think they're top team in the NFC.
100%.
This is just a little setback that I think it was good for them to face. I mean, this is also a current thing we're going to be talking about this episode is special teams coming up huge for their team. Greg Newsome with the huge game-saving field goal block. And then Browns kicker, you know, that first week he missed a couple of kicks. They were kind of calling for his job already. And what a huge redemption for him, you know, coming up clutch in that 55-yard field goal attempt to win in the game. You know, that was beautiful to see. Special teams was like definitely the story for these 12 o'clock games on Sunday. And I'm here for it. You know, I love to see the unexpected happen.
Definitely,
especially with the amount of field goal blocks we saw. But I think the Packers bounce back. You know, I think this is what they needed. Browns 1-2. You know, it can probably have some momentum. They do got to go into Detroit next week. And can you do us a favor and hopefully do the same thing to Detroit? Maybe help the Bears out a little bit. But
that would be interesting.
Should be interesting. See what the Browns can do after doing this to the Packers, and see what the Packers can do against Dallas Sunday night. Packers return should be Should be interesting to watch. No CeeDee Lamb. Kind of figure who's going to win that one. But yeah.
Yeah. And also too, I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to have a game that bad again. 30 yards on 16 carries, averaging 1.9 yards per carry. I don't see that happening again. It's very kind of similar to, I think, the game plan, although the result is very different, but the game plan that they had against the Ravens. We're not going to let Josh Jacobs beat us, similar to how they didn't want to let Derrick Henry beat them, except it was a little bit easier for them to stop Jordan Love than it is to stop Lamar Jackson. So, like I said, I don't think we'll see that again. And speaking of the Dallas game on Sunday Night Football for Week 4, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, Jerry Jones did come out and say that they are not going to give a tribute to Michael Parsons. So just food for thought.
Yeah.
But the next game I want to talk about real quick is, obviously, you guys saw that we placed a podcast parlay, including some of the games from Sunday. And boy, were we wrong on this one.
We got to do better, and we will be better. We will be better this week. I promise you guys.
I mean, sometimes it's not even just us, but the Falcons need to do better, because that was an embarrassing performance by the Falcons to get stomped 30-0 by the Carolina Panthers. Really, really bad game for the Falcons right there. Michael Penix was 18 of 36 for 172 yards, no touchdowns, obviously, 2 interceptions. Drake London was held to 55 yards, and Bijan had 111 yards of offense by himself. So, I mean, it was, it was the Bijan show, basically, and he can't do it by himself. The Panthers offense, to be completely honest, though, didn't perform as well as kind of the numbers would say, being, that they won 30-0, but they had a total of 224 yards because their defense carried big time. Great punt defense, great, on just stopping the Falcons and getting good field position. So obviously those numbers aren't going to look as, inflated because of the fact that they had such good field position for most of the game. Like I said, with those 2 interceptions and stuff, they played a great game, man. And that's what happens with those divisional games is, and I think, for us to kind of go forward with our picks, we should know better that, divisional games are tough. The unexpected can happen very often. So we learned our lesson, that's for sure. But what are your thoughts on this Falcons team, man, and Michael Penix at the helm right now? We even got to see Kirk Cousins come back out.
We saw Kirk Cousins come in, but I mean, this Falcons, it was an embarrassing loss. Again, divisional opponent. These games are played differently between these guys. There's much more on the line for them, especially when you're playing a team you're going to see twice in a year. Terrible day, like you said, for Michael Penix. 172, 2 picks, 50% completion. Just looked terrible out there. I don't want to knock the Panthers defense. Looked amazing that day. They had to pick 6. They're all over the field, and I don't have much for this game. I don't think this is going to be a reoccurring thing for the Falcons.
At least they hope not, too.
But Michael Penix this is the second week in a row where Penix didn't look good. I don't think he looked that good against Minnesota the week before on that Sunday Night Football. He looked pretty decent against Week 1, but they got to pick it. He's got to pick it up. They got to pick it up. I believe they just fired someone on their offensive staff.
I think also too that they are moving their offensive coordinator. It's either they're moving him from the booth to the field or from the field to the booth. So maybe that can change things up.
I know some coaches prefer to call the plays, especially these coordinators, from the booth. They can see the field a lot better there. But yeah, they got to pick it up. You fall to 1-2 now, especially with that divisional loss. It's going to hurt them, but try to bounce back. Not really much for this game I can give you.
For sure. Now we'll go through. We've got a couple more games real quick. Chargers in a game that we thought was going to be, super, super low scoring. Was actually pretty exciting. The Chargers were able to defeat the Broncos 23-20. Cameron Dicker hit a game-winning field goal for the Chargers. And we saw a great game by Cortland Sutton, a good game by J.K. Dobbins in his kind of return to face his old team. Great. Just a pretty exciting game, in my opinion. Definitely was, probably somewhat lower scoring. But overall, I thought it was a really good game. We did see, I feel like Justin Herbert kind of struggled a little bit. Quentin Johnston, though, continues to break out, man. I think if I'm not mistaken, he was guarded by Pat Surtain on multiple, targets. And I think if don't quote me on this because I'm trying to remember it from just viewing it earlier. I think that is some of the one of the highest amount of yards that a receiver has had while being primarily covered by Pat Surtain this season, if not longer. So Quentin Johnston, the breakout is real, guys. He is looking like a very formidable wide receiver for Justin Herbert. And, obviously Keenan's there too. So,
yeah, and he's looking like the guy they wanted him to be, take him in that first round 2 years ago. Chargers moved to 3-0, which is huge for them. Another divisional opponent win. That's 3 in a row. Chiefs week 1, Raiders week 2, Broncos week 3. So that's huge. They're 3-0. They're 3-0 record, 3-0 in the division, which is massive for them. Herbert, I really want to highlight that unreal touchdown throw to Keenan Allen. Avoids the sack, rolls out left on his right foot. Keenan Allen wasn't even open when he threw that ball. He hadn't made the cut yet. He wasn't open. Delivers the dot. Keenan Allen, great catch. Herbert, even better throw. But I really want to highlight Omarion Hampton, I believe, has arrived in the NFL, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
We see Najee Harris go down with that injury. Sad to see, especially with how well this team is playing. You don't want to see anybody get hurt, but he could have been a viable player in this offense. But, unfortunately, it does happen. Omarion Hampton had his first real start to this in the NFL with the 19 attempts, 70 yards rushing with the touchdown, 6 catches for 60 yards. Like I said, we were talking about some of his struggles these last 2 weeks, but I was letting you know that he's a rookie. You have to give rookies time. Like, you're not going to expect these guys to go out in their week 1 performance and automatically put up a game where they're considered the best in their position. Not saying we should consider him the best in his position with this because of how well the running backs are in this league. But we saw where he was taken in the first round, and with this performance against a top 5 defense, he lived up to that performance so far. And it's only going to get higher up here from now. Najee Harris is out for the year, so he's going to be the primary back. I love to see it. Quentin Johnston, like you said, continues to thrive in this offense. Having those last year, especially last year, the bad drops the year before as well, continues to just be Herbert's one of Herbert's favorite targets. I think this is another week with 11 targets for Quentin Johnston. Doesn't matter who's guarding him. Like you said, the best cornerback in the league, Pat Surtain, was out there on that field kind of shadowing the outside receivers, but he still got him the ball, 6 for 89. Love to see it.
Yeah, no. And I want to clarify. I said Justin Herbert didn't look great. I meant Bo Nix didn't look great. That's my apologies. With 153 yards only, 118 on the ground. You got to roll with what's working. But, I do expect a little bit more from Bo Nix at this point. Year 2 under the Sean Payton offense. He finally did get Courtland Sutton going, though, which is a very, very nice thing to see. But again, if you look at the numbers, no other receiver had more than 2 receptions, and, you're throwing the ball 25 times compared to Justin Herbert's 47. Justin Herbert had more completions than Bo Nix had passing attempts. So I think, I don't know if it's just the play calling in Denver where they want to go very run heavy every game. But I think maybe you kind of have to take the reins off of Bo Nix a little bit and really kind of see what he's capable of, because this was a winnable game for them for sure. And, I think when you kind of look back to last week, again, when they faced the Colts, he had 30 attempts for 2 and he had 200 yards. Yeah. I just think you need to kind of maybe allow him to really take full control of the offense and really kind of be able to get his receivers more involved, because I feel like when this offense is very run heavy, it's obviously going to be predictable, right? Yeah. It's a difference when you kind of say that, well, the Eagles can do it, but the Eagles have a Saquon Barkley, and then on opposite sides of the field, you have a Devontae Smith and an A.J. Brown. And this is not to discredit J.K. Dobbins and Cortland Sutton, but they don't have that luxury of just saying, we're going to run the ball all game with J.K. Dobbins. He's not the same caliber of running back as, Saquon Barkley, or Cortland Sutton is not the same caliber of receiver probably as A.J. Brown. So I think by getting your receivers a little bit more involved, they'll be able to open up the run game even more if that's what they really want to do. So, but overall, the Chargers, man, 3-0, especially all 3 wins in the division. We talked about it, I think, early, that we thought that the Chargers could be the team to beat in this division, and they're coming out, man. Justin Herbert with another good performance, 300 yards, a little bit lower on the touchdown numbers, obviously, because they were able to get some production from Omari and Hampton, running the ball. But, and before we kind of move on to the next game, prayers up for Najee Harris, man. I mean, the guy was, I don't think he missed a single game when he was with the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. And, comes to the Chargers and within 3 games tears his Achilles. It just sucks to see, for a guy that's been a true workhorse over the first 4 seasons of his career. So speedy recovery to him, man. And I guess this is Omari and Hampton time now. So it's going to be fun to see this Chargers team, though, now. That is for sure. Now, the next game I want to talk about a little bit more of a snooze fest, I guess we can say. But the 49ers and the Cardinals. 49ers were able to win this game 16-15. Eddie Pinheiro, who they recently signed, nailed a 35-yard winner after a Zay Jones drop for the Cardinals. And, speaking of drops, man, Marvin Harrison, he struggled a lot last week or this past week. And, after the game, they were able to ask him about it, and he seemed emotional, man. And it sucks because he's such a young receiver, and coming out of Ohio State, he was such a highly touted prospect, and putting up incredible numbers at Ohio State. I think, I don't want to say that he has the yips, but I think the kid is really talented, and I think sometimes he just. I think it's really hard to have success, though, in the NFL as a wide receiver when, you kind of don't know what the game plan is. Like, 1 week you might get 10 targets, the next week you might get 3. I think it's kind of hard to really be a consistent receiver when that's the case, and it just, especially in an offense like the Cardinals, where they should be throwing the ball to him a little bit more. I mean, you spent a top 5 pick on the guy. I think you need to be getting him a lot more involved in this offense. But that's my thoughts. What are yours?
I think it's, young buck in the league trying to live up. I mean, who his dad is. He's trying to make an impact on this game himself too. But I mean, these drops, he was complete. There was not a defender near him, and you can see in those replays, like, balls coming in, takes his eye off the ball, trying to turn around quick, turn the corner and go before he even catches the ball. Got to get over it. Next week is up. Week game's over. You got next week coming out. Short week for him. Got a game on Thursday against Seattle, another divisional opponent. Got to get over it. I mean, what are you going to do? You got to catch the ball. Got to catch the ball, especially when you're wide open. Understandable if it's a one-on-one contested ball, throw it up there, try to come down with it. But I mean, you're wide open. There's kind of no excuse for those drops there. I understand they said Kyler came out in an interview a couple days ago where some days he might get 10 targets, some days he might get 2 or 3, depending on like what the system is running, how we're feeling right now in that moment. But I mean, you got to be ready to catch the ball, especially how high of a draft pick you were. You're the number 1 wide receiver there. You got to be ready to catch the ball at all times. And unfortunately, on Sunday, he wasn't ready, and it costed him. Mac Jones and this beat up Niners team came back, stole the game from them. They're moving on to 3-0. Nick Bosa out for the year with that injury, with the
James
ACL.
Conner as well.
James Conner, we forgot to mention, is out for the year of the ankle injury. Just banged up Niner team, though. Kittle still missing out some time. Hopefully, they're praying Brock Purdy can come back this week to play. McCaffrey still is the workhorse for this team. Ricky Pearsall had a great game. That's all I really got for this game.
Yeah, same here, man. Next one, we're going to talk about the Bucks were able to hold off the Jets with who forced a late comeback. Baker Mayfield led a last-minute drive for the win. And, honestly, man, this was I just think this was a game that kind of didn't go how we kind of expected it to go. It was really a game where the Bucs had this in control up until the fourth quarter, 23-6 to start the fourth, then a touchdown, you're up 23-13. Bucs come down, score a field goal. It's 26-13. And the next thing a touchdown, a blocked field goal. And if I'm not mistaken, they returned that blocked field goal, right, for a touchdown to kind of take the lead. Yeah, to take the lead at 27-26. And, 2-minute drive, Baker Mayfield kind of, and I really do think this is the time where we take a minute to give Baker Mayfield his props, man. The guy has a clutch gene. We saw it against the Texans in week 2, and we see it again this week. Although I don't think this should have been a game where they needed to kind of show that, but Baker Mayfield continues to show that he is clutch when it counts, man. And, this is, like I said, a game that shouldn't not have been this close, but again, the Bucs were able to kind of take this one and win it. And another injury, a thing that I feel like we did see some big injuries this week, man. Mike Evans is going to be out for a couple weeks with a hamstring injury. If I'm not mistaken, it might be the same leg that he had a hamstring injury with last season. He hopes to be back in the next few weeks, but he's most likely going to be out at least for the first 2 weeks or the next 2 weeks. But some good news, there is a strong chance that we see the return of Chris Godwin this week for the Bucs. So that should help them out. Obviously, they're probably going to ease him into this offense, being that he hasn't played since, last season, coming back from that ankle injury. But if they are able to get Chris Godwin back and, have him alongside of Emeka Egbuka and Bucky Irving and such, I think that they will be okay. But again, Baker Mayfield is clutch, and the Jets put up a little bit more of a fight than we thought.
Yeah, and when we talk about quarterbacks that have late in the fourth quarter, they need to go down and get a game-winning drive, and you say, oh, they left too much time on the clock for the quarterback. Usually you think of Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Baker is now one of those quarterbacks you have to consider with you left too much time on the clock for him, because this is now the third straight game in a row he's led a late fourth quarter comeback to win the game. Week 1 against Atlanta, last week against Monday against Houston, and now against the Jets. It shouldn't have been a fourth quarter comeback for the Bucs. They should have. Again, this is the third time in a row they had to have a fourth quarter comeback. So I don't know if it's a consistency, like with the offense having to constantly score throughout these quarters issue, or a defensive closing out the game issue. But they're 3-0. Baker Mayfield continuing to make his case for being a top 5 quarterback in this league. But again, the most constant thing we're talking about throughout these games is special teams. Will McDonald leaps over the center untouched. So this is a case where we don't see someone using leverage to attempt to block a field goal. Hops over the defender hops over the center without touching him, blocks the field goal, returns it. They go up. Unfortunately, they end up losing that game, which, Baker Mayfield has consistently showed that he is a very clutch player in this league. Feel bad for the Jets. This is a game they could have won easily with that, especially with that second half they had where they were coming back. What are you going to do? This is any given Sunday, anything could happen. Emeka Egbuka, I think at this point it's safe to say, I know how well Tyler Warren is playing. Don't want to discredit him, but I think Egbuka has Offensive Rookie of the Year locked up. He continues to shine 3 weeks straight now. Baker, one of Baker's favorite targets. Now that Mike Evans is out, Chris Godwin possibly on the return. If he does, that's great for the team. But coming off that bad injury, I think Egbuka is going to be the sole focus in this receiving core. I think he's going to soar in this offense throughout the next couple of weeks with Evans out. That's all I got.
Yeah. All right, man. Next one, we're going to talk about the Colts. Were able to defeat the Titans 41-20. Jonathan Taylor, what a day. 3 touchdowns, 102 rushing yards. I believe he had 16 receiving yards as well. So 118 total yards of offense, 3 touchdowns. And really not too much to say for this game, I guess. But, the Daniel Jones-led Colts are doing the unexpected. I don't think anybody expected this. And I know that going into the season, there was a lot of question marks on, the fact that maybe the Colts thought they shouldn't, or people thought the Colts were giving up on Anthony Richardson too early. He hasn't been healthy, hasn't really had a fair shot. But I guess we understand why they chose Daniel Jones to lead this offense because of what he's done the last 3 weeks. So, 228 and a touchdown for Daniel Jones on top of 27 rushing yards on 4 attempts. The he's winning, and he's running this offense very efficiently. Michael Pittman had 6 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown. And, on the Titans side, and I kind of want to hear your thoughts here, but, Cam Ward didn't look terrible. 219 yards, a touchdown. He had a pick, obviously, but, the biggest thing for me here is that he is not getting the ball to his number one receiver nearly enough. I mean, 7 targets for Calvin Ridley, but, they're not clicking right now. Calvin Ridley had 1 reception for 27 yards. And, obviously for guys, we'll talk about fantasy in a bit, but obviously both real life and in fantasy, you're not getting the production from a Calvin Ridley that you need to kind of win games,
Yep.
So I think that this Tennessee team can, they can be a lot better, but things need to start clicking a little bit more, especially between Cam Ward and Calvin Ridley for them to start having some success. What are your thoughts?
I think the culture, they're balling right now, especially Daniel Jones. Kind of excited to see him, after the struggles over there in New York, leaves, they cut him out, goes to a new team, wins the starting spot, and now they're 3-0, huge divisional win for them. I'm more excited to see how they play next week against the Rams in SoFi. Kind of like their real test. Like, all right, let's especially with a high caliber playoff team, let's see what they can do. But you got to give Daniel Jones his flowers. He's played exceptionally well. This last game was I think the first time they had to punt this season. I think they only had 1 punt the whole game too, so it was just that 1 punt they had to do. Jonathan Taylor, like you said, huge game, 3 touchdowns, making his case so far this season on why he should be considered top back in this league amongst the Saquons, the Bijan Robinsons, the Jahmyr Gibbs, and the Titans struggles. I mean, this is kind of expected with a rookie QB. Rookie QB is going to struggle a little bit. I know head coach Callahan said he's given up the play calling to his coordinator now, so he won't be calling the plays anymore. Hopefully we see something different there with that offensive scheme, but not much I can really say here. Props to Daniel Jones. Keep it going. I love to see it. Let's see if they can go to 4-0, and maybe with this new play calling system with the coordinator instead of the head coach, maybe we can see Cam Ward find a groove with his offensive playmakers.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so the next game I want to talk about real quick, we won't have to spend too much time on this one, is the Commanders beating the Raiders 41-24. This is without Jaden Daniels. Washington's run game kind of stepped up big time here. You had 201 total rushing yards, 78 yards from Jeremy McNichols, 40 yards from Marcus Mariota, Chris Rodriguez, 11 carries for 39 yards, JCM, 26 yards on 8 carries. I think, we were really, really high on JCM, and right now it seems like since the Eckler injury, this does kind of seem to be like a running back by committee kind of run group. And, for fantasy owners, you might be a little worried. But I mean, Marcus Mariota, he only threw the ball 21 times, but he was extremely efficient, 270 yards, a passing touchdown, a long passing touchdown to not passing touchdown, but a long completion to Terry McLaurin, which I believe was 58 yards, something like that.
They called back the touchdown. It was originally a touchdown. They called it back.
Yeah, they called that back, but he got Terry McLaurin involved. Only 3 receptions, but 75 yards. The best game that we saw from Terry McLaurin this season so far. Yep. And I think the number one thing going forward is that you hope that when Jaden Daniels returns, that we can see Terry McLaurin kind of continue this and really kind of start to get more involved in that offense, especially if the running game is able to kind of produce like this. When you got a 3-headed kind of running back by committee group with Rodriguez, McNichols, and Merritt, Krosky Merritt. I think that can kind of switch up some looks that, they'll show to defenses and maybe open things up for them there. And of course, when Jaden Daniels comes back, you have him as a threat as well. But, and then on the Raiders side, I mean, Geno had a great game, 289, 3 touchdowns. Genty got the ball a little bit more, 17 carries for 63 yards. But what a day for Trey Tucker, man. 8 receptions, 145 yards, and 3 tutties.
Yeah.
But, I mean, other than that, I mean, the Commanders were able to really overwhelm this team, and that's really about it.
Yeah, and I think the struggles for the Raiders continues to be with the run game. We're not seeing this offensive line in the run game. They say that on a high percentage of these run plays that Ashton Genty is being hit behind the line of scrimmage, so he doesn't have any room to work with there. He averaged 3.7 yards to carry that game. We haven't really seen Ashton Genty have an explosive game yet. I mean, this was the best game I think he's had, the 60 yards. But I mean, the passing game, what are you going to say? Geno threw for 289, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I do want to see them get Brock Bowers more involved, though. These last 2 weeks, we haven't really seen him get involved. That first week, he had over 100 yards, had a little injury, but was good to go the next week, so he seems fine. I don't know why they're not getting Brock Bowers more involved in this passing game, but, I mean, if this continues to happen, especially with no run game, we can see the Raiders team have a pretty bad run here in these next couple of games, and that's not something you want to see as a Raiders fan or a player. Commanders, huge win for them, especially without Jaden Daniels being there. They moved to 2-1, which is huge because you don't want to fall to 1-2, especially with Dallas also being 1-2. You kind of want to have clear room of that 2 spot, hopefully to take one with the Eagles there at 3-0. Only 1 game behind now, so it keeps them up there with Jaden Daniels being out. Hopefully he comes back next week. That's all I got for you in this game.
Yeah. All right. And then the last game we'll talk about before Sunday Night Football, another real quick one. The Seattle Seahawks completely dismantled the Saints 44-13. And man, I mean, Sam Darnold, did you see that ball that he placed for JSN? I mean, I think it was triple coverage too, just JSN with the late hands too. That was a smart, high IQ play by him to show his hands late and get that ball. But again, I mean, Sam Darnold, very efficient, 14 of 18 for 218 yards, 2 touchdowns. JSN continues to have a great season through the first 3 games, 96 yards on just 5 receptions, a touchdown. And then a guy that I think, he's someone to kind of watch, Torrey Horton, the rookie receiver. He had a punt return touchdown. He also had 3 receptions for 32 yards and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp, 2 for 31. Again, I mean, they only had, as a team, 16 total completions on 21 pass attempts and then 33 rushing attempts. So, and this is without Zach Charbonnet as he missed the game.
Yep.
Kenneth Walker, 38 yards, and then, 2 touchdowns, of course. So, I mean, good defensive day for the Seahawks as well, too, man. This was, like you said earlier in the episode, a big day for special teams and defenses in general. So they were able to, if I'm not mistaken, have a pick. They also, if I'm not mistaken, had a fumble recovery as well. So, yeah, man, I mean, good day for Seattle. That's for sure.
Yeah, great game for them. Going up against the Saints, who actually been putting up a fight their first 2 games. So thought it would be a little bit close. Seattle just comes out this game and just dominates them. Got a short week this week going up against Arizona on the road. So see if they can keep that momentum going. 2 wins now, hopefully to make it 3 in a row. Trying to go 3-1, especially in a tough division there with the Niners being 3-0 and the Rams being 2-1 right now. And Arizona being 2-1, so that's a pretty good division to keep an eye on right now. So hopefully we can carry that momentum into Thursday.
Yep, going to be a good one. Now, next game, obviously, we have Sunday Night Football in a game that I wasn't really a fan of watching, to be honest. We had 2 0-2 teams, and, it just really just kind of disappointing of a game to watch. I mean, the Chiefs were able to win this one 22-9. Mahomes had 224 passing yards, a touchdown, completed 22 of 37. He continues to run the ball a little bit more. I mean, he only had 5 attempts for 2 yards, so a little bit different than the first 2 games. But we definitely see him being a little bit more involved in the run game here because, I guess that's just the way the cookie crumbled the first couple of weeks. So we're definitely seeing Mahomes a little bit more mobile this season, I feel like.
Yep.
But again, it seems like this run game for the Chiefs, they're very balanced in a sense. There's no clear dominant running back in this in this offense. Pacheco had 10 carries, Kareem Hunt had 10 carries, and I guess we kind of finally saw the offense clicking a little bit more in the passing game. Tyquan Thornton had 71 and a touchdown. Juju had 4 for 55. Hollywood Brown had 4 for 42. The big thing here for me is Travis Kelce does not look like the Travis Kelce that we're used to seeing through the first 3 weeks. 4 for 26 in this game. He just, I'm not going to say washed, but he's definitely lost a step. He's not the same Travis Kelce that we're used to. And we honestly thought that, especially after the Xavier Worthy injury, that we were going to see a little bit more from him and obviously without Rashee Rice. But he really hasn't stepped up to kind of control this passing game and be the guy for Pat like we kind of expected him to be.
Yeah, I think that has to do with because of the 2-star receivers being out. So, Worthy's out, Rice is out. Main focus you can do now is for Kelce, just focus on him. Once you get Worthy back, hopefully this week, Rice comes back in 3 weeks, then we'll start to see maybe Travis Kelce, his production be a little bit better as we've seen. But again, Chiefs, they took the win, 1-2. That's huge for them. Giants fall to 0-3. Breaking news today: Russell Wilson has been benched for Week 4. Jackson Dart has been named the starter for Week 4. So Giants fans are excited to see that. Bad news for Giants fans though. Tyrone Tracy did get injured this game. Will be likely to miss a couple of weeks, but Cam Scatterboo looks amazing. He does, man. He is a beast. He is not the type of running back that's going to make you guess if he's going left or right. No, he gets the ball and he's running right through people. He puts his head down and he wants to blast. I know I just cursed. Sorry for my cursing, but that's just the type of player he is. He doesn't care who the defender is. You can put Fred Warner there. He will run right through them. And that's the type of hard-nosed player that Giants are known for. They love these hard-nosed players, and I think he's going to thrive in this offense with Jackson Dart this next week. They play the Chargers. It's going to be a tough matchup, but they are at home. Hopefully see Malik Neighbors get more productivity. Week 2, we saw him go crazy. Week 3, we saw nothing. This Sunday Night Football game, Cam Scatterboo was the leading rusher and receiver for this team. It was just checked on him, hand off to him. So I can't wait to see what he can do now. 2 rookies starting this next week. I'm excited to see that. Chiefs looking to get Xavier Worthy back. They're 1-3. Finally, didn't fall to 0-3. Broke. I think this starts the breakup of that Super Bowl hangover where they lost. Hopefully to get Xavier Worthy back. Now they go back home, host the Ravens. We'll talk about next. Came off a brutal loss. Hoping to build off that to go 2-2, especially in a division where Chargers are 3-0. Denver falls to 1-2. Raiders are 1-2. So this is still a close race for second place and possibly even first in this division, depending on what the Chiefs can do. But look for them to build off this momentum on this week and try to go up against the tough AFC opponent who they see a lot in the playoffs here and try to get this dub.
Yeah, for sure, man. And one more thing on this game is just Russell Wilson. 160 yards on 32 pass attempts. Cam Scatterboo, I'm excited to see him though, man. He's a hard-nosed guy, and I just think that it's a tough matchup for Jackson Dart to come in and start in against the Chargers with that defense. But maybe it's just the breath of fresh air that they need to really kind of help push them along in their development, man. I think they were already kind of installing him in some packages, some RPO packages and stuff. So, he's going to have the full reign. And, this also kind of seems like a move where it needed to be done only because I think Brian Daboll is really fighting for his job at this point.
Yeah.
He's obviously they've underperformed over the last couple seasons. I think his first year with Daniel Jones was kind of like a resurgent Daniel Jones season. And then, since then it's just been, bad play over in New York. So, it's just going to be interesting to see. But, I do hope to see some positive things from Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboo going forward. But enough with Sunday Night Football and that snooze fest, because we've got a great game to talk about from Monday night. The Lions faced off against the Ravens. They played each other a couple years ago, and the Ravens were able to dog walk the Lions. That's for sure. I think it was 34-9 or something like that a couple seasons ago. But the Lions were able to get their revenge, man. They beat Baltimore 38-30. A monster game from David Montgomery, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns on just 12 carries. Jahmyr Gibbs also had 2 touchdowns. Jared Goff threw another passing touchdown to Amon-Ra. And, I think the biggest thing here for the Lions was the fact that their defense really kind of flipped the momentum in this game. Aiden Hutchinson with a forced fumble on Derrick Henry, late in that fourth quarter, and really allowed them to kind of go and really kind of take control of the game late. So, but yeah, man, what were your thoughts here?
Yeah, I thought, the one thing I do really want to give credit to there in this game was the Lions defense. I mean, you forced the crucial Derrick Henry fumble again, which is his 3rd fumble in 3 games, and you saw his emotions on the sideline. They showed like he's frustrated with himself. This is something, I don't know what's going on with him, but it's something he's got to fix if the Ravens, want to win, because this is another crucial situation where they can try to win the game or close the game out, and they fumbled the ball. But the Lions defense came up huge. I mean, when was the last time you seen Lamar Jackson get sacked 7 times in a game? I mean, the Lions defense came up huge this week. And then on the offensive side too, like Jared Goff had another efficient, good game. 200 plus yards, the touchdown to Amon-Ra. Montgomery had 12 carries for 151 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Gibbs had 2 rushing touchdowns. Offense was moving. They built off that dominating win against the Bears last week, and the defense just continues to improve. It didn't look good week 1, looked better week 2, and this week it showed out. Like, you hold the 2-time MVP, runner-up MVP last year, 7 sacks. 7 sacks, I think, is a untalked about stat so far, especially with the Lions defense and the quarterback they were facing, Lamar Jackson, who we know is electric in the run game. He makes people miss. He's one of the fastest quarterbacks in the league. Usually see him have great running games, help him to 30 yards on the 7 sacks. And then the defense, there's times where Lamar would roll out of the pocket and there's no one to throw to. You can see him trying to find someone to throw to, and they're just locked up. Shout out Brian Branch, Terrion Arnold, doing their job against, a high scoring offensive team. And Lamar Jackson just gets sacked behind the line of scrimmage again, trying to make a play happen. And this was just a great game all in all for the Lions defense. And they definitely deserve the game ball after this one for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, incredible. Performance by them. I think it was something that, like you said, it's definitely not really being talked about as much, I feel like, because people are focusing on, the Ravens not winning this game, or the fact that Derrick Henry fumbled, late in this game. I think we got to give our hats, or tip our hats to the Lions defense, man. I just think it's, like you said, unheard of that Lamar is sacked 7 times. And I think a huge part of that too is because his receivers could not get open. So he's holding the ball, trying to find someone, trying to make a play, because obviously Derrick Henry, only 50 yards rushing. The rush game, they kind of were able to stop a little bit. Lamar and Henry combined for 80 total rushing yards.
Yeah, and that's credit to the Lions D-line. They won the game at the line of scrimmage on both sides. The offensive line looked great. They didn't put Goff under pressure. And then the D-line, they contained Derrick Henry to 50 yards rushing and sacked Lamar 7 times. So that D-line, that D-line and the offensive line deserve a lot of credit this game, because the game was definitely won at the line of scrimmage this game.
Yep. And Aiden Hutchinson looked really good, man.
Yeah.
That's really all I got for Monday Night Football, brother.
Yeah, that's all I got too for the recaps.
But now we've got the Week 4 predictions. And when it comes to the Week 4 predictions, obviously you guys know that we like to talk about all the games and give you guys our insight and kind of what we think. So this time we're going to do it a little bit different. First off, George and I, we're going to go through these games for the Week 4 slate. So I'll put those up on the screen here, and we're going to talk about those games real quick. We're just going to give our predictions, say who wins, who doesn't, whatever. And then on maybe some of the ones that we disagree on, we'll kind of dig a little bit deeper and find out why we disagree on that. So we're going to jump right in. And so here is the week 4 slate of games. So we're going to start off with Thursday night football, first game of the week. We've got the Seahawks and the Cardinals. I'm going to take the Seahawks.
I'll take the Seahawks too.
All right. Then we got Sunday's Dublin game, the Vikings and the Steelers. Give me the Vikings. I really like that, how that defense looked in week 3, man.
Yeah, I'll take the Vikings too. The Steelers. Yeah, I'll take the Vikings on this one too.
All right. Washington versus Atlanta. Jaden Daniels might be back. Give me Washington.
I'm gonna disagree here. I know they just lost 30-0, but they're back at home. Devastating loss. A report came out as we were recording this that Terry McLaurin is most likely to not play this game, and I think give me the Falcons on this one. I'll take them on a redemption game after the devastating loss last week.
All right. Bills over Saints. Give me the Bills.
Yeah, give me the Bills.
Next one, we've got the Texans and the Titans. I think the Texans can win this game for the first win of the season. Give me the Texans.
Give me the Titans. I'm gonna say this is Cam Ward's first win in the NFL. Titans. I think they got to get one at some point, right? They got to get one at some point, and the Texans' offense has not been looking good, especially with that O-line. Give me the Titans on this one.
All right. Next one, Lions and Browns. Give me the Lions.
Give me the Lions too, but could possibly. I mean, we saw what the Browns did last week.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, give me the Lions though. Well, something to watch out on.
All right. Carolina and New England. Give me the Patriots.
I'll take the Patriots too.
All right. Chargers and Giants. Give me the Chargers.
Man, give me the Chargers too, but I'm for some reason leaning New York.
All right. Next one, we've got the Rams and the Colts. This is the test that we've been talking about. I'm going to still take the Rams, though, on this one.
I'll take the Rams, too.
Bucks and Eagles. I'm going to take the Eagles only because the Bucks are banged up.
I'll do the same thing, too.
All right. Yeah. San Fran and Jacksonville. Give me San Fran. Purdy could be coming back. I like their chances.
Give me San Fran, too.
All right. Kansas City and Baltimore. I think this is going to be a big game for both teams. Both are 1-2. Give me Baltimore, though. Give me bounce back game for sure.
Give me Baltimore.
Bears and Raiders. Give me the Bears.
I'm going to choose the Bears every time. Like I said it before, I'm taking the Bears on this one.
All right. Sunday Night Football. We've got Green Bay and Dallas. Give me Green Bay. Yeah.
Give me Green Bay by 1,000,000.
All right. Jets and Dolphins. It's a game. Give me the Dolphins.
Give me the Jets. Give me the Jets.
All right.
We saw, especially if Fields plays, we saw what Fields has done to the Dolphins before. Give me the Jets.
Last game, Broncos versus Bengals. Give me the Broncos.
Give me the Broncos.
All right. So we've got our predictions, and now so we disagreed on a couple of them. Obviously, I think we disagreed on the Washington and the Falcons game. We also disagreed on the Tennessee Texans game. We kind of agreed on the Chargers-Giants game. And then lastly was the Jets and Dolphins game that we didn't agree on. So for the first game, with the news coming out right now as we're recording this, with Jaden Daniels or Terry McLaurin possibly being out, if that's the case, I think I will have to lean that way, because if I'm the Commanders, I don't necessarily think that I'm going to rush back Jaden Daniels if Terry McLaurin isn't there. I just don't see them forcing him to come back a week early and then his number one target isn't there. But I mean, I still do like the Commanders just because of the fact that, Jaden Daniels is a game-changing quarterback. So That's kind of why I'm leaning towards the Commanders in this one. But I could understand your thoughts your thought process with the Falcons for sure.
Same with yours. Yeah, I know Jaden Daniels is an electric game-changing quarterback, but I'm still going to roll with the Falcons on this one. They have something to prove after losing 30-0. against the Panthers last week. They fought a 1-2. Tampa's 3-0. The Saints are 0-3, and now the Panthers are 1-2 with the edge over Atlanta because they beat them. They need this win to stay in somewhat of playoff contentions. If their number one receiver for Washington is out, I still think that. I mean, you have Bijan there, Drake London. Yeah. The defense is still really good for Atlanta. I'm still leaning towards Atlanta this game.
All right, understandable. Now,
and I believe it or not, the last time they matched up, that was the overtime game, right?
That was
towards the end of the season, and then
that was an overtime.
That was overtime game. So it was an electric one.
If I'm not mistaken, that was Penix's debut as a starter.
Yeah, and I have to go back and check again. Sorry for the misinformation here, but I think Washington won. So if that's true, then I'm looking for Atlanta to get back on this one, especially at home again.
All right, I'm gonna talk about this. You know what? Let me pull that up real quick, just because I kind of want to see it now. But I do think that you're right. I think that was the overtime game, and let's take a look real quick as I pull this up. Yeah, it was the overtime game. The Commanders won 30-24 in overtime. Penix had 223 yards and a touchdown. He also had a pick. Bijan had 90 yards receiving, or 90 yards rushing. Drake London had a game, 106 yards. Kyle Pitts had 44 yards and a touchdown. On the other side, Jaden Daniels had 227, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Jaden Daniels also had 127 rushing yards. Olamide Zaccheaus had 85 receiving yards. Zach Ertz had 72 and 2 touchdowns. Zaccheaus also had a touchdown. And then, yeah, I mean, that was a game, man.
So look for it to be an electric, high-scoring game.
It will be. It will be an exciting game this week. So that'll be fun to see. Yep. And also, battle of the 2024 draft pick quarterbacks, top 10 picks. So that'll be fun. Bragging rights, right? So next one that we talked about that we disagreed on a little bit was the Titans and the Texans game. You think Cam Ward is going to get his first win. I said the Texans get their first win. I think, to be honest, with the way that we've seen the Texans play and the Titans play, I think it really is a toss-up. This game could go either way. I just think that the veteran quarterback with the veteran receiver and Nico Collins, I think they'll finally get something clicking. But what I do think, though, is this is a game where Cam Ward does have kind of a little bit more of a breakout moment. I know Houston's defense has been kind of, touted as like a really good defensive unit this season. But if I'm not mistaken, Derek Stingley Jr. is dealing with a little bit of an injury. If he's injured, obviously he's not going to be guarding the team's number one and Calvin Ridley and
C.J. Gardner-Johnson just got cut from the team.
And C.J. Gardner-Johnson just got cut. So they look a little bit thin in the defensive back room right now, especially if Stingley doesn't play. So I think this can be the opportunity for Cam Ward to really kind of grow a little bit in this game. I just think maybe the Texans defense is a little bit better. Their line with Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, they can maybe get some pressure on Cam Ward to make him a little bit more uncomfortable than he'd like to be and maybe force a turnover late in this game. But I do see it like how you're saying it too. I think it can go either way.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I do think this is the game Cam Ward gets his first W.
All right, and then the last one that we disagreed on was the Jets-Dolphins game. And, I said the Dolphins only because, I think this is a must-win game for them. I guess same thing for the Jets too. But I just think that the talent in Miami is there. Like, they have Tyreek, they have Jalen Waddle, you have HN, you have, Tua when he isn't turning the ball over. They have a decent team. And also, I mean, I think they had a great showing against the team that, is a Super Bowl contender with Josh Allen and the Bills. So I think they try to build off of last week's, momentum in a sense where, I mean, they didn't win the game, but I mean, small improvements, that they've made from week 1 to week 2 to week 3. I think they'll carry that over. That's kind of why I'm leaning them. But yeah, what makes you kind of lean towards the Jets?
I mean, if you look back at the week 1 and this last week for the Jets, those are 2 games they should have won. I mean, week 1, they should have beaten the Steelers. And then this last Sunday, with that huge block field goal return for a touchdown, they should have beaten Tampa. So those are 2 games that they should have won. I know week 2 they got destroyed by Buffalo. Like, what was it, 30-10? Fields gets taken out of the game with concussion, but if Fields is back, I have no problem saying that they could beat this Miami Dolphins team. Like, 2 games they should have won that they didn't. They got to close one out at some point. I think this is the team to do it against. I think this is where they can get their first win of the season, and I think Miami might fall down this season.
All right. Okay, so those are our week 4 predictions. Now, you guys know that last week we introduced a little bit of trash talk between George and I for our fantasy football league, and unfortunately, I have to say that George did beat me in a very, very close matchup, though. Right here, as you guys can see.
Wasn't worried.
Wasn't
worried.
I mean, look at my performers, man. I mean, look at that. I got a dud from Chase Brown, and Chuba Hubbard in a blowout game doesn't get more than 10 points. Losing by 5.5 right there. I mean, honestly, he's so lucky that Gibbs gets that second touchdown. If Gibbs doesn't get the second touchdown, we're talking about a different week. Outcome.
What you want to talk about? Look, we got to have a serious talk over here at Giorgio's squad at the GM status because someone over here in the front office made the decision to start the Colts defense instead of the Vikings defense. It doesn't show it in here, but Vikings defense on the bench with 30+ points. Yeah. Then they wouldn't have been so lucky for Gibbs getting that touchdown. This would have been an easy win, no sweat for nobody.
Yeah.
3-0, 0-3. My season's looking great. You got to make some changes there, brother.
Yeah, man. I got to start. I'm about to start sending trade requests real quick because
I'll take Amon Ra. I'll take it, baby.
This is unacceptable. I'll tell you guys right now, though. I had my team doing suicides last night. After that performance, I was extremely disappointed. But 0-3. I mean, I've had a rough go this year in fantasy. 2 of the leagues I'm projected to be the highest scoring team and the best record. In 2 leagues, I am 1-2. In 2 leagues, I am 0-3. Embarrassing performance from these guys these last few weeks. It's like, and the crazy thing is too, man, George, I am getting put up against guys who are having weeks. Like, I just had a guy put up 158 points on me to my 125, and like 125 is a decent number, you know?
Yeah. One of my leagues, my team put up 144. I clear every team in that league except the guy I'm playing who had 155. So that's fantasy, baby.
Hey, that's fantasy, baby. It's just, man, I literally have one team that has Saquon Barkley, Chase Brown, Brock Bowers, and one more. I think it was Malik Neighbors. All of those guys combined for a whopping 23 points. I think it was something like that in this league. And bro, what? So
that's anyway, fantasy, baby.
I'm going through it in my fantasy leagues, but I'm about to put my GM cap on and get some things moving because things got to change. But enough with that. We have got some of the best and worst fantasy performances of week 3. George, go ahead and take the lead on this one.
Yeah, we're going to run by these quick like we're on ESPN. Best performers, one at each position. Caleb Williams, 298 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, was the best QB in fantasy this week. Running backs, we got 2 of them. Jonathan Taylor, 118 total yards, 3 touchdowns. And David Montgomery, 164 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Both were the best performing running backs in week 3 of fantasy. Wide receiver, we got Trey Tucker for the Las Vegas Raiders. Who? Exactly. 8 catches, 149 total yards, 3 touchdowns. Tight end, this week we got Hunter Henry, 8 receptions, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. And for the defense, we're going to add it this week because it was an outlier for some of you guys for this week. Vikings defense had 4 sacks, only allowed 10 points, 2 interceptions, 3 fumble recoveries, and 2 touchdowns. Now we're going to head off to the worst performers. Michael Penix, what are we doing? 172 yards, 2 interceptions. What is that, 3 points? Do better. Ramondre Stevenson, 18 rushing yards, 2 fumbles. And this is after last week where he was the best performer, one of the best performers, and had his career best game. Do better. Wide receiver T. Higgins, 1 reception for 15 yards. If you look at that game again, if you actually watch it, there was a throw Jake Browning threw to him in the end zone where he goes up and catches it one-on-one, goes through his hands. Could have had a touchdown that game, but he didn't. Bengals got to do better. Tight end Tucker Kraft, 3 catches, 29 yards. Again, another person on this list who was on the worst performers, but last week was the best performing tight end. Got to do better. Hopefully this next week we don't see some of these best performers turn into worst performers, because that's something we saw this week.
Do better.
Do better.
That's the theme here. Do better. Now, we have got the next thing for you guys, fantasy related, obviously, because that is what you guys are here for. So we have the week 4 waiver wire targets. I've got 2 guys, and I think one of them I mentioned last week, but we see that things aren't going the right way in Tennessee. So I'm going to say it again. Alec Iomanner. I hope I'm not butchering the name, but
Probably are.
Probably am, because you never know sometimes. Now, I'm going to pull up these stats real quick. Iomanner has 4 receptions for 38 yards in the game against the Colts and a touchdown. And then in week 2, he had 4 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. So he is outperforming Calvin Ridley as the main receiver in Tennessee right now. I'm going to say until we start to see things change for Calvin Ridley, Iomanner is the guy in Tennessee. He's the guy that you could probably pick up in your leagues if he's available. I say keep an eye on him. And then my second guy, he's probably a guy that is snatched up in majority of your leagues, right? This episode is airing or coming out Wednesday morning, right? So when this comes out, by the time you get to this point, if you see that this guy is on the waiver wire, you drop everything and you pick him up right now, because he is a guy that can give you RB1 like production in an offense that is somewhat capable of doing good things. Trey Benson, go get him right now if he's available. If you have to drop, the fab money in your league, drop some dollars, because Trey Benson is a very, very good option to have. And it kind of reminds me of a couple years ago when Kyron Williams hit the waiver wire the first time. He's a guy that I think he's going to be. I mean, we saw DeMarcado. He looked terrible in his few snaps against the 49ers. Couldn't catch passes, just didn't have the explosiveness. Benson did. And, I think going forward, he's a guy that, you saw glimpses in the first 2 weeks. If he's able to fully take over now as the RB1 in this offense, I think he's a guy that you go get. So if you see him available in waiver wires this morning as you're watching this episode, pause this episode, go get him, then come back to the episode and then say, hey, Brandon, hey, George, I did what you told me. Thanks, because we appreciate it, because we're doing the research for you guys to help you guys out. We want you guys to win.
Yep.
I want to win too. I in all the leagues he's available in, I promise you, I've got my waivers in. I've got my fab dropped. I'm ready to go. I'm loading up on any stock in Trey Benson that I can get. So those are my 2 waiver wire picks. George, who you got?
Keep it short. Not really much I can give you this week. Right now, first guy I'm going to give you, Ollie Gordon. He's a good handcuff to Devon Achane. Gets goal line touches, and if he goes down, he's looking like he's going to be the next man up. Rostered in 20% of Yahoo leagues right now, so if you can get him, I would. Next guy, one of the guys we listed on the best performers, if you can get him, Hunter Henry. He's in an offense where the wide receiver position lacks talent, I would say. So Henry will see a lot of targets going up against better defenses. We saw it against the Steelers this week. 8 catches on 11 targets for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rostered to 61% of leagues on Yahoo if he's available. Go get him, especially if you have tight ends like Kittle still injured. Laporta, Kittle. Not Kittle. Sorry, I said him again. Evan Ingram. Some of these tight ends where you can't really rely on to get you the consistent points. See if you can grab them. Could be good for week-to-week matchups. That's all I got for you.
All right. Now, the last thing when we're talking fantasy is we've got panic levels, because this has been one of my favorite topics that we've brought into the podcast. Now, I've got a couple names for you, and I want to hear your thoughts. I will say one, and I will tell you my level, and then I want to hear yours. So I think we only have 2 guys. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So the first one is Chase Brown. I am on red alert right now with Chase Brown.
Yeah, same. If on a scale of like 1 to 10, I'm a panic level like 8 or 9 right now. The team looked terrible this last week, and Chase Brown has yet to crack 50 rushing yards in a game. through the first 3 weeks. And if it wasn't for that touchdown he had in week 1, he'd be averaging less than 10 points a week, 10 points a week in fantasy. So yes, especially a guy you took early in the second rounds to be your RB1. This is someone I'm highly panicking on right now, and I would be looking to possibly like see if you can trade him. Maybe someone will buy low, so maybe get a little better piece there. But as long as this offense continues to look like they did last week against the Vikings, and there's no run game there. I mean, even with Joe Burrow there, week 1 and somewhat of week 2, there's no run game. He hasn't cracked 50 rushing yards yet. Again, and the lack of usage there is high right now. So I'm panicking on him.
Yeah, very, very panicked on him, and I have stock in him in a couple of leagues too. So I'm very worried. And the problem is you can't really sell him right now because you're going to get a low offer because of the fact that he hasn't produced. So you kind of have to hope that he has a breakout game in the next couple of weeks, and then you can trade him when his value is kind of going up. But yeah, I mean, very, very worried. Worried.
Yeah, it worries.
So next one I got for you, Justin Jefferson. What are your thoughts? I'm panicked right now.
I'm at again, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like at a 6 right now. I mean,
I've got like a little bit of anxiety right now.
Yeah,
not
I mean,
panic, but I'm feeling a little.
That's understandable. I mean, with a guy you drafted in the first round, especially, to be your wide receiver 1, maybe you took him that early and then went the hero wide receiver strategy. But I'm not fully panicked yet, but I'm kind of getting there. His usage this year so far has not been there. You drafted him in the first round to be your wide receiver 1, and currently through 3 weeks he's a wide receiver 25.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see it improve as the weeks go on. I kind of understand this last week why he wasn't involved too heavy. That defense had such a dominant display against the Browns, and Jordan Mason had a great game that they didn't really need to air the ball out a lot. But I mean, Carson Wentz, he's not afraid to sling the rock, so maybe he can get Justin Jefferson involved. And when JJ McCarthy comes back, hopefully he can start using Justin Jefferson a little bit more than he did those first 2 weeks. But right now I'm at a panic level 6 out of 10 on Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I mean, understandably so. I mean, Justin Jefferson hasn't had through the first 3 weeks more than 7 targets his way. And, on top of that, he hasn't had more than 5 receptions in any of those games. The last one, obviously against Cincinnati in a blowout game, he had 5 receptions. Against Atlanta, he had 3. Against the Bears, he had 4. And remember, that Bears game, he did not have to face a Kyler Gordon or a Jalen Johnson. But obviously we know that JJ McCarthy was struggling for most of that game anyway. But yeah, I mean, it just I just think for me, the volume that we're used to seeing with Justin Jefferson isn't there. And, for me, he just where his ADP was prior to the season, I think where the value that you're getting from him right now is not lining up to that. And, if this does seem to be a run heavy offense that we kind of are starting to see that it could be leaning towards, especially with the questions about JJ McCarthy and, if Carson Wentz is going to be airing the ball out or not, I think that's just going to be something that we have to, roll through or go through. So we'll see. But all right, guys. So for the Thursday night football game, because those were our panic levels. So we're going to talk about the Thursday night football game because guess what? It is podcast parlay time.
Make some money.
So George was able to, cook up last week, and that one cashed. So we're going to go and we're going to run it back with, this Thursday night parlay, and then we're going to try to look at some stuff for the Monday game. And so we have a parlay right now. We're looking at FanDuel, and it is going to be a 4-legger, nothing too crazy at all. But let's get that up here on the board for you guys to take a look at. So we have, where is it? Let's get that up and going, and we have it here. So you guys look, again, nothing too crazy. We've got Sam Darnold, 200 yards, Trey McBride, 50-plus yards, Seahawks by 1.5, and Marvin Harrison Jr., 3 receptions. Yes, you guys may say Marvin Harrison just had these drops. Don't worry, because this is the perfect opportunity for him to bounce back. And it is a divisional game, so we got to remember that when it comes to these divisional games, guys come in with a little bit extra juice, and I think that is exactly what's going to happen. We saw, obviously, with the 49ers game, it was 16-15, a slugfest. Backup quarterback with Mac Jones led them down the field. Gritty game. I think here we're going to have a good competitive game too, and I think we are going to see hopefully 2 weeks in a row where we green a Thursday night football parlay.
Let's do it, baby.
Let's do it. So that was our Thursday night football parlay. And now, George, so the last thing that we've got is obviously Sunday parlay. And I know some of the lines aren't up yet for player props or touchdowns even or things like that. But what are just some matchups that maybe we should or what are some things that you kind of like just looking at what's available right now that you kind of are a big fan of?
One thing I really love, this is cashed every game so far. Give me Romo Dunze to score a touchdown. He's had 4 through 3 weeks. He's hot. He's the number one target right now. Give me Romo Dunze to score a touchdown for the Bears against the Raiders. Okay, so that's like one. I have also. I'm really leaning towards running it back with Bijan Robinson. He didn't get in the end zone last week. It was a terrible game, but I do think Bijan can get in the end zone this week against the Commanders. So we'll take that. That's my 2 touchdown parlays, and then we'll give you guys some spreads. I kind of, excuse me, man. Some of these games are very tough matchups, especially for spreads. But I would like to take. Give me. Wow, these are tough. Sorry about this, guys.
I'll be honest. There's one that I do like, and I think.
Go ahead, give it to me.
I kind of like Titans plus 7.5.
Titans plus 7.5. I can get on board with that. I mean,
and listen, and if you're
Cam Ward could get his first dub, so I can rock with that.
And listen, let me tell you guys, if you guys are a little iffy, right? You can even bump it up on the alternate spread to plus 10.5, right? Plus 7.5 was minus 128. Plus 10.5 is minus 184. If you want to go a little bit safer, I think you can do that too. I'm not mad at it. But if you go plus 10.5 for the Titans, I do think that is a game where they can keep it relatively close. Another divisional matchup.
Yeah, and I'm looking at these games, and it's pretty tough to call right now. I have to do some more research, so apologies for you guys. But I will be sending Brandon my confident 4 to 5 legger, most likely 4, before Saturday, and he will be uploading it. He will be uploading it to all our socials, so you guys can follow it and get more get involved in that podcast.
And who knows, guys? I would say so right now, obviously, we don't have one set in stone, right? And maybe, just maybe, George and I later this week, right now it's Tuesday that we're recording this, is going to go up on Wednesday, obviously. So, of course, lines aren't going to be really out. But if George and I find some free time later this week, maybe we reconvene and maybe we cook up a little parlay for you guys then. And then we'll post that first thing Sunday morning for you guys too. So we don't want to force anything now. We want to make sure that we're taking our time to give you guys some really good picks because obviously we want redemption for ourselves too, because week 1 parlay did not cash and week 3 parlay did not cash either. So we want to help you guys out as we want to help ourselves out too. So let us do some research. Hopefully, if we got some time, we'll reconvene. If not, we'll still figure out a way to cook you guys up a parlay together, and we will get that posted for you guys first thing Sunday morning. And yeah, man, I think we can call it an episode after that, bro.
Yes, sir. Great episode.
All right.
Nate.
Yes, sir, man. So, all right, guys. So thank you guys for yet again tuning in to the Figures of Sport podcast. There's another great episode between George and I just love continuing this content with him, man. Like I said earlier in the episode, it's been nothing but great responses from the people that are out here watching. We've had a lot of interactions, a lot more uptick in views and comments across social media platforms, things like that. So a huge shout out to you guys for that. And of course, guys, the most important thing here, before you guys are to leave, we want you guys to like and subscribe to the channel. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment.
Hit that button.
hit that button. Comment below your guys' thoughts on the podcast. All the questions that we asked throughout this episode. The baseball stuff, the football stuff. We want to hear your guys' thoughts because that also helps us create content for you guys that's a little bit more tailored for you guys. And of course, make sure you guys are following us on Instagram, on TikTok, because that is where we're going to be posting a lot of these short form videos, just to make sure that you guys are following us and staying up to date. If you don't have enough time to watch the full podcast, you can at least check out some of the clips and still get the information that you're looking for, guys. So we really appreciate you guys coming back for yet another episode of the Figures of Sport podcast. We're going to call that an episode. And again, episode 74. The next one's a big one, episode 75. And guess what? George is going to be right here again next week for episode 75. So we will catch you guys on the next one. And don't forget, next week, we're probably going to be looking at a little bit more baseball talk too as the season comes to a close. We're going to highlight the postseason bracket. And who knows, maybe George jumps on and we kind of talk a little bit of baseball because you guys know he knows ball too. So, but on that note, guys, thank you so much for coming back to another episode of the Figures of Sport podcast. We will catch you guys on the next one. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Peace.